across the country. And so people are in desperate need for housing, and somebody comes along and says, oh, no problem, you make this amount of money, it's going to cost you $1,200 a month, you can do it. And in that search for housing, they get caught up in these loan products.
The other thing that you raised is the question of, I'd like to get a little more into the question of liability, the assigning of who's responsible for this, because many people aren't aware what happens to a mortgage once it is actually once the loan is actually made. Usually you've got a broker and a real estate lender and often an appraiser, because part of the problem is that in order to produce a large loan, you've got to get an appraiser who's going to say this house is worth this much money. And one of the things that's happened now is it's become clear that many appraisers were overvaluing properties. So the original loan was far greater than the house was worth. Then you have an interest rate that makes it difficult for the homeowner to buy. But then that loan gets sold to another mortgage company, which then collateralizes it in a huge bunch of similar risky loans, and then it appears on Wall Street as a bond issue, right? So that everyone is passing the bad loan on to someone else, and no one is assuming responsibility for having participated in this inflated value that continues to be passed on from one person to another.
Right, and in the old days, you used to know, you know, there used to be a direct relationship between the borrower and the lender. And now
it was usually a bank.
Right, usually a bank. And now there are all these middle people with, you know, whose sort of prime directive is to sort of obfuscate who's actually holding the loan. And so when you're the borrower, there are, you know, there's the originator, there's the servicer, there are all these other people who are involved. And again, that's where it becomes very difficult to assign responsibility, and if you're the victim of fraud, to actually get some compensation for that, because essentially all that responsibility and liability has been just spread out over a series of people to the extent that it almost doesn't exist.
Are you yes, Lionel?
Well, the issue of the overappraisals, Washington Mutual is being investigated by the Attorney General in New York State right now in regards to their and it was they dug up emails, and they found emails where Washington Mutual was like, no, we want these appraisers in this company to handle it because we're not happy with how some of the appraisers are handling it. And so this is like it's a great case because it points to one of the largest I think Washington Mutual is the largest savings and loan in the country, and how they're linked to this. And it doesn't, unfortunately, the overappraisal results in overfinancing and just in huge debt loads in communities, and that's destructive to a community. As you know, and not people would say, oh, you're rising housing prices are good. Well, it's not good if your debt load is in line with that, and there's just not enough resources going to really help people keep their homes.
Mark Winston Griffith, the march on December 10th, Jesse Jackson leading on Wall Street.
December 10th.
On December 10th. Dealing with Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, Lehman Brothers, Bear Stearns. Have any of these large financial institutions responded in a way you consider favorable? Are there any positive examples here?
Well, our demonstration just occurred yesterday, and we went to Goldman Sachs actually to deliver the letter, and we literally couldn't get through the front door. So, no, I have not seen a response that I would consider favorable yet. I will give them the benefit of the doubt and say that there's still some time for them to respond. But up to now, you know, that's really what was the instigation for us to do this in the first place, is that Wall Street has not only been silent, but just has claimed no kind of responsibility, and we want to address that.
I want to thank you both for being with us. Mark Winston Griffith is the co-director of NEDAP, the Neighborhood Economic Development Advocacy Project, which is a community-based financial justice group. We've also been joined by Lionel Willett, who is the executive director of Changer, organizing among homeowners caught in the subprime crisis. Thanks for joining us. We'll link to your websites as well, and as well as Juan's groundbreaking series of columns that he did in the New York Daily News. That does it for our broadcast.